All right, so let's talk about multiple ways to categorize plants. There's perennial versus annual. This is going to be most common, probably, that you're going to see, especially if you go to buy plants anywhere, like a nursery or a store. So, an annual is planted from seeds and it grows, blooms, and dies in a single year. So, like, annual means 1 year once. So, that's why it's called an annual. So, it's going to bloom, be pretty, and then it's going to die. Um, a lot of your flowers are going to be annuals, the ones that you plant in the spring, and a lot of vegetables. You have to plant those every year. A perennial returns year after year. Sometimes they grow dormant in the fall and winter, so they don't look as good or you don't see them, but then they're going to come back over a year. So the top portion of the plant's going to die, but the roots continue to live. In the spring, the top portion of the plant begins to grow again. Trees and shrubs are perennials. A lot of different types of flowers that grow from bulbs, like tulips and daffodils, that you're going to start seeing in the spring. Those come up every spring and they remain dormant underground during the winter. So perennial comes back annual as 1 year cycle. Biennials means it takes 2 full years to complete their life cycle. First year, they're kind of an immature plant, and then in the second year, it's going to flower and then it dies. Bi means two, so that's a good way to remember that. Then there's monocots versus dicots, or another common way they're classified. So flowering plants, which are also called angiosperms, they're divided into monocots and dicots. Plants that don't flower, like ferns, conifers, evergreen plants, they're neither dicots or monocots. So we're talking about flowering plants. The two are differentiated by monocotyledon and dicotyledon. So in a monocot, the vascular system is scattered throughout the system of the plant, and dicot, it's in rings. So you can see the monocot, the rings, and the dicot is scattered. So in the first section, you learn some basic questions to help you identify plants, to help you distinguish lilies and orchids and other flowering types. Lilies and orchids are monocots. Most other flowering plants are dicots. So here's some good ways to determine them. So a monocot has a single cotyledon or an early leaf. Dicots have two. Monocots pollen is single pore. Dicots, they're in threes. Um, Monocot flowers are multiples of threes. Dicots, they're in 4 or 5. The leaf veins in monocots are parallel. Let's see. Roots are adventitious, developing from the stem. That means they grow from the stem of the plant. The roots are radical from the first part on a dicot. So why do you need to know the difference? So you can learn about how these are going to grow. Learn about which type of herbicides, chemicals are used, because they are different for monocots and dicots. And then there's indoor versus outdoor plants, house plants versus a garden plant. Why do people keep plants indoors? It's becoming more and more popular. They can be challenging, but they help, filter the air. They give you natural oxygen. Living and working plants they've been shown to reduce stress and depression. So it says experts suggest one good size 8-inch or larger pot plant for every 100 to 129 square feet. That means if your bedroom at home is 10 by 10, you should have at least one house plant. Some house plants are toxic. One really common one is like a poinsettia, okay, that we see at Christmas time. These are toxic to your pets, so you want to do your research, before you get some of these plants. So make sure you read the labels to know what to do with your plants. So a label is going to tell you all of these important things. The hardiness zone, remember, that's where it grows the best. So if it's for way South Texas and you are in the Panhandle, probably not the best plant for you. How tall and wide the plant will be when it gets older, so you know where to plant it. How much sun, it'll do like partly, full, or no. How often it blooms or flowers, it'll say it's annual or perennial or biennial. How to plant it, whether the plant needs the sunlight, which we just said. So full sun is about 6 hours at least. Partial is around 3 to 6 hours. Dappled refers to the number of hours of sun and more to the type of sunlight. Dappled is found under the canopy of trees. So that'd be more like your tropical plants. Full shade is less than 3 hours of sunlight.